Yo, if you're coming over from the Sports Gamers Online channel, this is half of the MyTEAM NBA 2K17 wish list. If you're one of my subs, then be sure to check out the other half of the MyTEAM wish list on their channel as well. We'd go through every single sub mode possible as to how we can make 2K and MyTEAM better next year, starting off with the Gauntlet on my side. So what was the simplest mode of play might have turned out to be one of the most fun this year, and although it's filled with the most savage cheesers of 2K, the Gauntlet was enjoyable for two main reasons: because the games were quick and you could try out just about any player. But to the people that played the Gauntlet out in 2K16, what was the most tedious thing to do before a game? Just say it. Guessing the players you actually wanted to use. And deep down, I think that is the premise of the Gauntlet, being able to trial a prospective addition to your team, or use someone you could otherwise not afford. So why not actually give us a way to use who we'd like a win requirement or something to be able to choose from a random list of players, tiers of available players that vary depending on what board of the Gauntlet you're on would give aid to that probably. Honestly, I feel just about anything would be better than backing in and out of the mode until you get somebody better than dynamic Bruno Caboclo. The directions from the Gauntlet from there are pretty extensive, but other than that, the best way to improve this sub mode of play would probably be to take it off the blacktop though and set it in an actual gym. Whole 9 yards, regulated game rules, all of that, because that's where you're using the player on your team after all. Plus, more Gauntlet boards and player rewards were promised this year, but then they never actually come to fruition. Maybe something more than just a 93 overall Bob Cousy for lasting through 250 plus games of sweat might make this more tempting to play, because as of right now, the whole thing can be reduced to just starting new games until you say 2 trial players that might get you an easy W. So moving on, now the topic of packs could probably stretch to be talked about for an entire video, and that's not an exaggeration, but the truth of the matter is that a consensus to make everybody happy will never be reached. 2K did a fair job in coming up with new pack ideas in 2K16, but players have both been too common and almost unpulled at different points in the year. It's hard to say what exactly should be done, but two things that could possibly quell the war on packs with 2K17 right around the corner: probably better pacing the release rates of players and making pull rates more reasonable. So for example, an Amethyst Throwback Mellow was once worth near 500,000 MT this year, and at this point, you can probably catch him for 50,000. So not to mention the simple Amethyst playoff cards like Aminu with better stats than this Mellow and can be bought for half price now. It didn't help that only 2 or 3 of those Mellows were on the market when it first released. And furthermore, the release rate of new players in my team this year was slower than Sean Bradley, who might as well just not even have legs in this game. And the issue of players even being pullable, like with most of the diamond cards earlier in the year, was touched on after like an uproar within the community on Twitter. But why did it even have to come to that? Because it's understandable to want a certain player to be rarer than another, but it becomes a problem when people can spend like an entire paycheck on packs and still pull nobody of real worth. Maybe something along the lines of like a Madden or NBA Live Ultimate Team pack bundle topper. One of those things could give some incentive to at least I'm guaranteed a decent overall player if I pop up this box. And simply put, the players that are released earlier in the year will inevitably come on anyway after a while, and all of them will crash. So at least let us, my team players, have fun and actually pull them when they're released. And last but not least, pace the rates of them more tactically, because lots of players' birthdays and historical career moments, them would go by this year, but you'd still go into my team every day to see, today in my team, 15 new versions of Bill Cash Money Cartwright. Now, as far as miscellaneous mode additions go, I'd say wagering MT and players just might be the most popular thing to do in my team, and it isn't even technically an official form of play. And wager matches have been so heavily requested that it's almost redundant to have it on the list. I'm sure by now 2K has taken notice of that, and we can hope and pray that it will be an official thing in 17, or at least some form of it. A trade block also could ease the need for an official wagering game type. At this moment, I think the only way to trade a card between 2 people is for one person to post the card and hope the other person can buy it off the auction house before a random sniper does it. What would be so wrong with that simple system of trade requesting where people can offer MT or X amount of players for whatever they want? I can't tell you how many times I had to sell players XYZ just for enough MT to buy somebody else. That's not counting the tax that I lose from the auction house. But the point I get into is the NBA has trades, so why can't our franchises have them too? And speaking of a trade block, I think the auction house itself could do with a couple new shiny features. A watch list wouldn't be too much to ask. I think just about everybody is tired of having to search a player continuously for watch his bid, especially when diamond cards did first come out earlier in the year. The ones that you don't have or don't want to bid on but you want to watch, like, what's so wrong with that? Also, with how sporadic the market can be, especially when packs are first released, there should be a shorter time period to post cards. A minimum of 4 hours is entirely too much. And lastly, since the goal of the mode is meant to be collecting as many cards as possible, that should be made easier for us, please. As someone who had to go through the agony of making a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet of the jerseys that I was missing to improve my collection level, being able to search the auction house from your collection would be just a dream come true. That is time of my life that I will never get back. And the option to search from the collection is already there for players in regular rosters, so why not for the cards that are actually hard to find? And now finally, the simplest of all the requests I said to be made so far, achievements and rewards. In 2K15, if you collected every player from a certain team, you would receive a sapphire version of a player from that team. A lot of those players were pretty decent too, and in 2K16 your reward for doing the same thing was balls. Literally balls. And for real, most of them didn't even look appealing enough to use. What would be wrong with substituting those with either a boosted stat version of that team's star player, or even a pack bundle, yo, something simple. I think some pack boxes were already rewards for a few achievements this year. Nothing would be wrong with a few more. Win 10 or 5 games in a row, get your team to a 90 overall, maybe even go undefeated in a road to playoff seed, and you get a pack bundle with a guaranteed this guy. Like, all we ask is to be rewarded for playing the mode. That is all we want, so all we can do is hope for the best. I hope my team turns out better next year, but I hope maybe some of these things from this wish list can also be used and implemented. We'll see how it goes, but all of you have always asked me for this. Half of this is here, half of it is on SGO's channel. Be sure to check out both parts. Let me know what you guys think, and thank you for watching.